Good morning and welcome to the Science Magazine program. Sculpture has been significantly impacted by technological advancement, integrating digital tools and innovative materials to reshape artistic expression and production. Listen to an interview on the topic Sculpture, Technology and Industry. Expert is Shri Naresh Kumar Kumawat, a nationally and internationally acclaimed and reputed sculptor. Interviewer is Manoj Mainkar.
It's a privilege and a pleasure to welcome Naresh Kumar Kumawat, internationally acclaimed sculptor, to the studios of Akashvani. Now, for those of you who do not already know Naresh Kumar Kumawat, especially our listeners who are not from the field of fine arts, let me reintroduce him in a way. He is the one behind the well-known Samudra Manthan mural in the new Parliament House, and along with that, there are two other, if I may call them, artifacts that too have been conceptualized and executed by him. Naresh, as I welcome you to the studio, for the interest of the listeners, I want you to tell them about the other two creations of yours.
Thank you so much, Manojji, for having me here. It's like a dream come true for me to be in the room where some time ago, I would say long time back, Pujya Mahatma Gandhi ji was there.
This is Talk 3 of Akashvani.
This is Talk 3 of Akashvani. So I really feel fortunate myself to be the part of this discussion today. I'm fortunate enough to design many sculptures in life so far in my past 3 decades of a career, but I feel most honored work of mine is in the new Parliament building, which is one is Samudra Manthan, which we have designed about 80 feet by 9 feet long mural. Other one is Sardar Patel Sahab and Baba Saheb Ambedkar's mural in the form of a mural. Like it's a spherical 19 feet round. On that round, we just carved 2 sculptures parallel to each other because they are being known as the pillar of this country in terms of constitutions, in terms of democracy, of course. So when I was chosen to carve those 2 sculptures, then I had a only issue was the time. So that I had to do in a record time of 30 days, which is a very rare phenomena for an artist to do such a long sculpture, to create, design, sculpt and then cast. I'm lucky enough that today in the era of 21st century, we could have done it amicably, which has been appreciated by each and everyone.
When I look at sculpture, there are certain elements that come to my mind, which is far away from art. It's material science, it's a bit of geometry, it's also a bit of civil engineering. And if you now talk about the young generation, it's obviously nanotech, AI, digital, whatnot. We'd like to begin with a basic question on material science. If you look at the evolution of sculpture as an art or a science, any which way, how has it evolved with the passage of time? What have been the new materials that have been added to existing ones?
Well, this is quite fantastic one. If you see, I could recall Leonardo da Vinci, who used to design scientific things in such a way, and then he used to give the sculpture form of that particular design, which could have been used as an instrument to that time of life. When we started playing with clay and we started doing something with clay, and the time has come that in the minimum time we need to do a lot of work. Then we need to introduce technology into this. When we add these 2 things together, a blend of these 2 things, the technology and the traditional or conventional art, could create the history. If I go back in early centuries, I don't remember exact timings of those century, but still if we see old monuments like Ajanta and Ellora, old monuments like the Rameshwar temple, old monuments Nakshi Madurai temple, there are a history of these sculptures where people have carved without technology even. That's what is in imagination. But when we see this place called in Madhya Pradesh, Sanchi is one, Bhimbedkar is also one, where all these sculptures have been carved on the dome of the temples. It is Khajuraho, where all sculptures have been carved in such a scientific manner. They give a message within the sculpture itself. If we see, there is a lady who have been carved in that era, 10th or 11th century, that 2 on stone, and she's having a phone kind of thing close to her ears. Then other lady is writing something on the kind of iPad. So can can we imagine something like that was existing at that point of time? The artisans. Or we were lacking that thing in the present scenario, and somehow when we arise into the 21st century, all those things have come back and we are adding them into the traditional method, and we are creating history along with the towering sculptures. If you see, we need to cast about 150 metric ton metal and then to give it to Baba Saheb Ambedkar statue, which I did in Vijayawada. So I have melted about 135 metric ton metal in a span of 4 month time. So for that, to invent a very special kind of foundry where we can so quickly melt the metal. The melting metal is not a rocket science. With the help of few gases and few burners and few turbines, you can melt it, of course. But thing is how to do it in a technology where you can give a perfect shape, I would say. So then again, I would recall the Mohenjo-daro's time when these all Kasika statues were available. So how those people have done? The research says there was a system called as lost wax technology. So that lost wax technology was used at that time also, in the middle of the era also, and in the present era also. So in the middle of that, the sculptors, the karigars, and the people used to have big furnaces that are like kachi bhatti sort of, and they used to burn a lot of coal, lakda, and all that stuff to de-wax the things. That was quite time-taking stuff, and not only time-taking, it was quite against the environment as well. When I started doing this, then it was like a one-man show for me, because I used to involve myself along with that sculpture and making it out of wax and then putting all the core out of it and then putting it in the oven. But if I'm gonna do that with conventional method, then it would have been very difficult for me to do a maximum quantum of the work because I would lose my health. Then we called experts from Germany and then we discussed with them and we created the chambers in such a way where we can put these cores, molds inside the oven, and with the gasoline, the green evolution gas, I would say, we use that kind of gas, and then we burn that wax and we pour the metal into this and we create the shape of our sculpture. The bottom line I would like to say that this invention of creating a chamber sort of oven, which is big in size, just quite double to your room, was quite a rare phenomena for me to have such a costly equipment, because you need to have the parallel work for that. I'm fortunate enough, I kept getting work. We kept doing this invention in the factory, in the studio, I would say. And today we have one of the largest art foundry of the Asia, where we can cast 20 ton metal in a day.
When I look at a 200 feet statue, I wonder whether it has been made out of 3 distinct joints, or is it a one piece 200 feet statue?
Again, I will come back to that, my 80 feet by 9 feet mural in New Parliament building. That mural has been casted in 46 different pieces. And those 46 pieces have been, like, it was 80 feet. So we have decided that we'll take it in 4 pieces instead of taking in 46 pieces. And we brought it from our studio. But by that time, the flooring and everything, interior and exterior, was done in the New Parliament building. Then again, we had to cut them in multiple pieces. Then we have to assemble it. So of course, the all towering sculptures we used to cast in multiple pieces. Then we assemble them at site for the execution.
We discussed clay. The other one you mentioned was obviously bronze. We discussed stone. Is wood also material that a sculptor dreams of? I'll make a wood statue one day.
Wood have always been a precious stuff in carving of sculptures. Like if we carve some monumental sculpture on sandalwood, it becomes very precious and very auspicious as well. But wood does have its own limit. We cannot create the towering statue or large sculpture in wood because it does have its limits. And when we add couple of things together, then the shape would get different. So wood is my secondary choice, of course, but I do most of them in bronze.
And I want to understand, are your implements, your tools different in each category?
The basic tools we use to carve the clay model. When we do the clay model, then all the wooden tools comes into the picture, and we do with the help of wooden tools all sculptures. When we go to the wax statues, then we use dental surgery tools, so those kind of tools we use. So yes, we do have different tools for the different stuff.
Moving on from material science to the other one of my favorite subjects in school, geometry. Now I understand you are no mathematician, but when you create a statue, I'm sure a lot of geometry is used for either harmony, you want to mix and match something mathematically. So what is the role of this particular area of science in that?
Geometry plays a very big role. If I talk about a human anatomy, then 7.5 part of your body is your face. This is a very simple calculation while you are sculpting something. But now we are talking about a 200 feet statue, and now to coming up with a 600 feet statue. And in Ayodhya, when I met Adriniya Yogi Adityanath ji, we have discussed about 250 1 meter tall statue, that is 820 feet tall statue. You see, when we talk about this kind of tall statue, then we have to calculate or analyze the geometry of that particular figure, where we can create such a monument so that the person who is looking at these sculpture from certain height, he can analyze it in a perfect way. Let me give you an example. When we do a 600 feet statue, the perspective vision of that statue need to be analyzed, because the statue is at the height of 600 feet and the person is at 6 feet only. How you are going to blend this distance between these two? So I would like to give an example. When we go to the railway track, we see them on a certain point, we find them both are together, parallax. But you need to design them on paper. You have to create a distance on certain level, distortion of the proportions. So the face of a sculpture need to make the bigger than the required geometry. This is what we call perspective vision of a sculpture, so that whenever the people see them from certain distance, they enjoy the beauty of the sculpture. Either the face is gonna look small, the shoulders gonna look bigger. So it will be like a very weird proportion.
My curiosity is, at that height up there, the wind speed would be such it can blow off the head. So what all, plus making sure that even if unfortunately an earthquake of a particular magnitude were to strike, this has to be protected. In terms of wind velocity and earthquake resistance, are there certain safeguards that sculptors take?
So whenever we design some towering sculpture, we used to calculate all these factors of wind velocity, and of course for the earthquake resistance, we take the precautions of that particular state where we are designing that statue. Let me give you an example of one of my towering sculpture, 369 feet tall statue of Lord Shiva, even a sitting posture, hollow from inside, having trident of about 215 feet, having snake of about 100 feet. So for that particular sculpture, when I started analyzing the project, I had to visit Sydney Wind Tech Agency was there to have the wind analysis of that area. We did that, calculate all the factors. I am fortunate to have structure engineer Sri Sharad Gupta ji with me, who helped me in erections of more than 100 statues so far. We are working on multiple projects with him. I remember one of my project at very initial stage when I was quite a young chap in 2001. I was doing it in Vadodara, Gujarat. 121 feet tall statue of Lord Shiva, and the massive earthquake happens in Gujarat, in Bhuj. So the statue was shaking like anything. Somehow at that point of time, engineer Gautam Talhati ji was there, who took major precautions in erection of that statue, and statue is still that quite safe. In same way, when I designed 147 feet tall statue of Kailash Nath Mahadev at Nepal Sangha, the major earthquake have happened in Nepal, but still statue is still safe because they have been designed in such a way where they can tolerate massive earthquakes.
Now, Picasso, I would associate him more with drawing and painting rather than sculpture. But tell me something, is a sculptor, drawer, sketcher, painter as well?
So the root of every sculptor comes from a sketchboard only. You need to design a concept. Until unless you cannot draw a good sketch, I don't think so you can be a good sculptor. Sketching is the mother of doing sculpting.
In India, at least, one doesn't come across, or maybe we don't know, a highly acclaimed woman sculptor. Or are there? Is the genre picking up among women as well? As an art or a science for many?
I think there are many women who are doing wonderful work in the field of sculptures. Recently, when I started creating a lot of things on my social media pages, I have realized that a lot of girls have approached me with their work, and I really found their work very fantastic. The Iron Lady of India, she used to sculpt a bronze sculpture in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and she is the one who has designed multiple sculptures in bronze. She was good at doing the tall sculptures, larger than life sculptures, and of course the new generation is coming up.
In this age, technology has grown by leaps and bounds, and elements like nanotechnology and the digital thing, and in this emerging age of AI, how has sculpture been able to marry these genres of technology?
This is much required actually when you are running with the time. In the present scenario, when you see a lot of technology is being used everywhere, whether it is medical field, whether it is engineering, whether it is architecturals, though it is into the sculpting as well. Earlier we used to design or draw sculptures, sketches on a sketchbook. Now we're designing sketches on our iPad. Earlier we used to have gurus to get guidance. Today we have AI to have guidance. I tell you, when I was doing Osamu Suzuki's sculpture, the father of Maruti, then I just draw his sketches. I got an approval from Mr. T. Suzuki, and then we started doing his sculpture. While I was doing his sculpture, the resemblance of face was very critical issue. I am though quite quite new to the technology or to the AI. Somehow I just downloaded few apps and took help of those apps in resembling the face. When I was like making a clay model, taking a picture, putting into the app, and along with that original picture of particular person, putting into the app, then the app does suggest me that I need to improve the chin, nose, lips, eyes. So this is how AI is quite helpful if we use it in a right perspective. In the same manner, when we use technologically 3D scanners, 3D printers, 3D routers, these are very helpful instrument in designing monumental sculptures as if now.
Naresh, another important area, if you look at the beauty of sculptures, must be the paints or the dyes used to give them a particular hue, the required hue. Even this particular field grown in terms with emerging technologies?
We are right now using a lot of technologies in making this kind of sculptures, this kind of monuments. And when you're putting different patinate and different colors and different things, then AI, the technology is quite helpful to visualize something before introducing to the client or introducing to the public. So this is quite helpful.
Naresh, we are almost at the concluding phase of our stimulating discussion. So what strikes my mind now is a bit of, roti pani. Because whatever you have mentioned till now has appeared very, very niche. Is sculpture a field that a young person can think of in today's difficult times as a career that also runs the home?
I'm the child of 90s. Then every 90s child used to have had a dream of becoming engineer or doctor. Though I had a dream of becoming a doctor. And when I could not have succeeded into that, then I had decided to follow the parental path. Like, my father happens to be a teacher, and then he became a sculptor, and then he designed one of the tallest statues, Shiv Murti, in Delhi. So following his path, when I got into this, it was quite challenging for me to earn so-called roti pani. And one fine morning, I was quite frustrated with this thing, because when I approached to the several colleges like MS University of Baroda, they used to teach you need to do something different. And now different means what? The one work Mr. Anish Kapoor does. And the different is what? One work Mr. Inder Sharma does. Both are different two edges of a river, but in this particular time where the contemporary and modern art is being introduced to the market, you need to have a survival for doing your own traditional work. What I learned from my father is only the traditional work. When I learned all this technology and learned all these sculptures in a majestic way to put in the public, I could have earned better what I have thought of. And today, when I am having about 300 people with me or working for me, we have a program like Earn While Learn. People comes to me who keep learning and keep earning as well, because getting multiple projects around the globe, of course, it might be tough, but it's not impossible to make your own identity in the field of sculptures. We can do that.
Naresh, it was great talking to you. Thank you very much for sparing time for the listeners of Akashvani.
Thank you so much.
You were listening to an interview with Shri Naresh Kumar Kumawat, a nationally and internationally acclaimed and reputed sculptor on sculpture technology and industry. Interviewer was Manoj Mainkar. Narrated by Priyanka Kumari and produced by Dilip Jha. This broadcast came to you from Indraprasth channel of Akashvani, Delhi.